Hi folks, welcome back. I previously indicated I would share some of my gear, and what you're looking at are the three boots, or the three pair of boots I took with me on a recent hunt. I have other boots, but this was part of my loadout. So what I'll do is I'll talk about each pair of boots, and at the conclusion I will also share my preferred socks, the socks I like wearing with these boots. So let's get started. This first pair right here is a very high quality pair of boots. What you're looking at here is the Lowa Tibet GTX hunting boots. They are 8 inches high, or 20.3 centimeters. Each boot weighs 2 pounds 3 ounces, or 1,004 grams. I do have custom footbeds in there, if you could see the red, and those footbeds are made by Lathrop and Sons, and they actually enhance the performance of the boot and the overall comfort as well. This is a Gore-Tex lined boot. It is made out of 2.6 millimeter Nubuck leather, and it has an elevated ram that goes all the way around for added protection against scuffs, abrasions. And they also have a 5 millimeter nylon shank that runs the length of the boot for stability, and Vibram soles, of course. And this boot's not insulated, so I wouldn't say this is a winter boot. It is probably best described as a 3-season boot. Now, I could insulate this boot with a very heavy sock, but for stationary hunting it would be inadequate. If I were doing spot and stalk, or if I was moving all the time, I would be okay, but generally speaking, if I were stationary hunting, this boot is inadequate. My feet would get cold. It's okay for scouting, but it would not be something I would use in a stand or if I was hunting in a blind during the winter. But let me talk a little bit about the lacing system, because it is something that I am very fond of. It is one of the best lacing systems I've seen, and check out that hardware right there. Look how heavy duty that is. And let me just spin them around this way. And what you have here is basically a ball bearing lacing system, and this allows me to cinch up my forefoot, and once I get it nice and tight the way I want it, I can lock it down right here with this lug, and this is not going to move. Then what I can do is I can work on my ankle and my heel in this area, and I can work my way up, and then I will use this stud here in the tongue and wrap around it, and that stabilizes the tongue. It keeps it from moving around. It keeps it nice and centered. Then I'll work my way up to the last piece of hardware up here and cinch up the boots nice and tight. So it's a very effective lacing system. It's one of the best ones I've ever seen, and I'm very, very fond of that. Now let me talk about a couple of little cons, and then we will move on. Now this may not be a con to some folks. It could be a positive or a negative depending on how you look at it. But if you look at the boot, you could see that the gusset doesn't go all the way up. So it doesn't have a complete gusset all the way to the top. And it could probably go up another 1.5 inches or so for added water protection if I were crossing a stream. So that would be a con. Now on a positive, look how wide this opens up. So I can insert my foot in there and put them on and take them off. So again, it depends really how you look at it. Another very minor thing that I found is that this little pull tab in the back is really inadequate. Look how small that is for pulling the boots up. I can barely get a grip on that. I generally will grab them up here and pull them up. But other than that, these boots are outstanding. They're very, very heavy duty. I would say this is a great boot for going up into the mountains, spot and stalk in moderate weather. Perhaps if I'm carrying a very heavy backpack, they're designed for these heavy loads. They are super stable. They work very well in rugged terrain. And actually these are my finest backpacking boots. and I would even argue that they are professional grade. So once again, you're looking at the Lowa Tibet GTX hunting boots. Now we're going to move on over here to the middle, and this is an insulated boot, and these are the Cabela's Artic Bruin boots. It's another boot that I'm fond of. It's very effective within reason, and these boots are 10 inches high or 25.4 centimeters. They weigh 2 pounds 10 ounces each, or 1,211 grams. They are a Gore-Tex boot. It has leather bottoms, and it has Cordura nylon uppers. Vibram soles, of course. Pretty good traction. And they have 1,400 grams of Thinsulate insulation in them. And like I said, they are relatively warm for winter conditions. I can do some stand hunting in these, or hunting in a blind, if it's not terribly cold, let's say below 30 or so. They are a little big, bulky and heavy, and as long as I'm not walking great distances, they're fine. They're effective for spot and stalk and stand hunting. I would say this is a good option for reasonable temperatures or spending a half day in the field. And these boots here offer moderate warmth and moderate comfort. So once again, they are the Cabela's Artic Bruin. Finally, my warmest boots and my preferred boots for stand hunting. These are the Cabela's Saskatchewan Pac boots. Very warm boots. They are 15 inches high or 38.1 centimeters. These boots weigh 3 pounds each, or 1,362 grams. They are Gore-Tex lined. They have an EVA foam throughout with a nylon midsole. And they also have very thick liners that are warm. I've seen some pretty nice liners out there, 9 millimeters, 11 millimeters. But what you're looking at here is a 13 millimeter Texel liners, and of course they're removable. I can take them out to dry them, no problem there, but these are very comfortable and very, very warm. Now these boots also have a cinch collar up here to draw them in, and I can tighten them around my pants, so it's not necessary to have gaiters for deep snow and to keep any debris from getting into the boots. They come in brown, and they also come in this camouflage color. And there's a very similar boot that Cabela's puts out. It's almost identical, I would say. It's called the Cabela's Transatlantic 3-pack boot, which is very, very similar to this boot. Now, the obvious is true with these boots. They're big, they're bulky, they're heavy. They would not be a good choice for long walks, and I'm not trying to make a fashion statement with these boots, but they keep my feet very warm. Now for stand hunting, they would be ideal, and the application of this boot would be if I am going to be in a situation where I'm going to be in the woods all day, which I often do, and I want warm feet. This is going to address that issue. Another application would be ice fishing, perhaps on the back of a dog sled, a snowmobile. I would even argue if someone were going to, let's say, a playoff game in January up to Lambeau Field, and you're going to be outside for 4 or 5 hours standing on concrete, this may not be a bad choice to address cold feet, especially for those folks who suffer from cold feet. But the bottom line on these boots, these are serious cold weather boots for stand hunting, ice fishing, or for those folks who perhaps are going to spend the entire day out in the snow. And they are going to offer maximum warmth and maximum comfort. So once again, you're looking at the Cabela's Saskatchewan Pac boot. Now, before I close out, I did say I wanted to briefly share my preferred hunting socks. I've tried quite a few socks, at least a dozen pairs, and these socks are okay. They work fine for other applications. But once again, for stand hunting where there's limited mobility, you're not moving around, you're not creating any heat, I want the thickest sock I can find. The more loft the better. And my preferred sock is a merino wool, and this is it right here. It is made by Smart Wool, and this is the extra heavy cushion hunting sock. And check out how thick that sock is. There's a lot of comfort there. There's a lot of cushioning. There's a lot of wicking power. And this is one of my preferred socks. The other one that I'm very fond of is basically the same thing. It's also put out by Smart Wool. This is called the Smart Wool Mountaineering Sock. And again, tremendous insulating properties here. And generally when I'm in the woods, I bring 2 pairs of socks, one that I wear in, another pair in my pack, and I will switch out. If this pair gets wet or if it gets sweaty, I can put on these socks and have nice clean dry socks, and then I'm good all day in the big boots. Now, you could also bring a wicking sock with you. This is a polypropylene sock, and there's different versions. This one is a Cool Max, and I believe Cabela also puts out one they call a Thermax, and they basically all do the same thing. It's a wicking sock. It's very thin and lightweight, and they dry very quickly. They push the moisture away from the feet. These are not necessary with a wool sock, a merino wool, because wool will wick moisture naturally, and when paired up with the Gore-Tex, it works very effectively. Now, on a con, I will say that sometimes with these socks you're going to get some slippage, and they're very slippery, so the inner sock will slip within the outer sock. And I've noticed this when I'm either ascending or descending, that I get a little bit of a rub in the heel or the front area, and it could create a little bit of a hot spot. So I thought I'd bring that up. But anyway, I wanted to share these boots with you. It's just a small sampling of what's out there. There's many boots out there. But what you're looking at here is a professional grade backpacking boot. This is the Lowa Tibet GTX hunting boots. In the middle we have the Cabela's Artic Bruin, a mid-grade boot. Very effective for some spot and stalk and some limited stand hunting depending on the temperature. And finally, my most cold weather boots here. These are the warmest ones I have, and these are the Cabela's Saskatchewan Pac boot. And this boot is extremely warm for harsh conditions, wet environments, and it is a boot that I've really put a lot of trust in, especially when I'm stand hunting and I spend the entire day out in the woods looking for deer. So thanks for tuning in. This is going to conclude this presentation, and see you all next time.